Hello again, it's me, that guy with the YouTube channel. Now enough with the small talk. You read the title, you saw what's going down. HAF Zone Fighter, bitches! So taking a look at Zone Fighter's box, as you can see here, it's a pretty colorful, appealing looking box, if I do say so myself. You got a swirly kind of effect going on there. You got Zone Fighter, Hero Action Figure, which is what HAF is supposed to stand for. Zone Fighter! 1973 copyright, something I can't read there. Yeah, that's that. There's a picture of Zone Fighter with noticeably brighter looking eyes. That's the figure. There aren't actually any pictures of the suit on this whole box. See, there's a Toho licensing sticker there, which is actually a sticker and not printed on like the print-ons for the Godzilla stuff. And yeah, it's not a Godzilla sticker for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it has to do with Bandai. I have no idea. And also should point out you got Evolution Toy and some Japanese stuff, which probably says Zone the Human Meteor, which is Zone Fighter's actual name, if you didn't know. Zone Fighter was just the official copyright name that Toho coined in 2003, I think? Yeah, I don't know. We got Hero Action Figure Zone Fighter, but sideways, and there's a nice looking little silhouette of the figure there. Got some prototype images and an image they tried to make look like a still from the show. There's some stuff there that you can read with your eyes, and you know, I just kind of noticed that the back of this box, like the background images, are trying to invoke the color of Zone Fighter's boots. That's actually really cool. Yeah, and there's like a swirly pattern or something, I guess. And other side is pretty much the same as the side you already saw. Bottom's nothing interesting. Top is pretty much the same as the side. So that's it for the box. It looks neat. Looks a hell of a lot better than the first version's box. So starting out with detail on Zone Fighter, looking at his red and green boots, you can see that the paint job is pretty crisp on them, pretty clean if I do say so myself, at least for the line between the red and the green. I mean, it's a little bit sloppy, but mainly along there, but not really that noticeable. And a little bit on the bottom of the foot, but you're never going to look there anyway, so it doesn't really matter if that's sloppy or not. But yeah, you got some wrinkles, other seam along the back. The paint on the white trim around his boots, I will say, is not very clean. You can see just going along, it's really kind of sloppy, but it's not to the point where it's obnoxiously noticeable. It's just if you get up close, the white trim is a little annoying. Not a whole lot to write home about along the legs, just blue. There's a Zone ass. One thing I want to point out, though, is you can kind of see there. Yeah, there. The plastic is actually kind of gouged, and that's only because I had him posed with his leg like that for a while. So yeah, and I wasn't even like getting too rough with it. That's just kind of how it happened. I had it posed. Yeah, there's his belt with his zone timer marker, not color timer thing. I forgot the name of this. Maybe it'll be appearing on screen, I don't know, but yeah, you can see it's translucent blue, and they didn't really do a very good job hiding the pegs holding the blue part in, but that doesn't bother me that much. But what does bother me is that they left out a little bit of blue in here. Yeah, you can see this kind of triangle sculpted into these silver triangles has kind of a line. That line part, like the inside, is supposed to be blue, and even on the prototype that's like that. And one other thing I forgot to mention about the boots, I'm kind of actually really glad they did this. If you look at the prototype, his ankle joints are blue, but here they actually went to the effort of molding them in the actual colors they should be, which I do appreciate. Yeah, his belt is also very loose, and it's really annoying, and as you will see in Articulation, it doesn't help him at all. Yeah, gloves are pretty nice, not a whole lot of wrinkles or anything. This is kind of an Ultra Act aesthetic of a figure where it's more how the character was intended to look as opposed to how they did. but you can see a detail I really love about this figure is that he has the zipper on his glove. They actually sculpted it. It's not just a seam, and I love that detail. It's great. And yeah, you can see the zipper seam along his back going up to his head. See the red markings that go along his chest, a little lightning bolt pattern. If I move it, you can see there is a bit of paint slop there. That was like that out of the box, so that is very annoying. But yeah, and the head sculpt is nice. Eyes are kind of an amber color and not really the brightest, but they still look fine. His antenna, you can see there's some excess mold flashing along there, but I'm not super bothered by that. It's more of a close-up thing. You gotta really pay attention to notice. And yeah, and one thing I also want to point out about this figure as we focus him in here and zoom out and focus him in here is that unlike the first version of this figure, he does not have the proportions of an anorexic 14-year-old girl, which is a big plus in my book. So for articulation, starting with the head, there's a joint in the top of the head, which allows him to look up incredibly, incredibly far. And that's all it does. It looks up and not really down. Doesn't swivel at all. And as you can see, mine kind of has an issue where his head wants to tilt to the side. It's really weird, and like it's in that joint. If I try and like hold it back into place, it'll eventually jerk back, which is annoying. There's also a ball joint in the neck, which also helps him look ridiculously, inhumanly far. This is an issue with the figure, which we will get onto very, very shortly. I'm just going to rest that in there for now. And yeah, he can look really far up with his neck joint and his head joint. Not really far down with his head, that's about as far, but he can tilt. He can look around, he can turn his head, he can do all that stuff you want to do with head joints. Shoulders are ball jointed and they can move all the way around, in and out a little bit, not a whole lot. You're really getting more of a swivel out of these shoulder ball joints than anything, but that's fine because we also have shoulder hinges, which move out a decent amount if I do say so myself. We get bicep swivels, which unlike a lot of Ultra Act figures, or figuarts or stuff like that, they're actually dedicated bicep swivels that are cut, so they allow you to move them all the way around and you don't have this shoulder piece going over. But this is where the issue with the figure comes in. The very big issue that kind of seems to be plaguing this entire line. They didn't really think this through very well. And you can tell this was kind of a last-minute decision, because if you look at the prototypes, they don't have these cut biceps. Here, I'll show you. This part is actually connected to this part in the prototypes. There isn't even a seam, so this was an afterthought on their part, and you can very much tell because these pegs that hold the biceps on are incredibly small. So you can see there's hardly any peg holding the arm in, so that's why they fall off so easily. I've honestly kind of been thinking about just taking the arms apart and gluing this free-floating piece to the arm to just make it how it should have been. Maybe that would help the connection, but yeah, it's really kind of annoying. And this shoulder ball joint was also incredibly stiff when I first got him, and I felt like I was going to break it, so I had to take that apart and sand it. Very annoying, very frustrating, especially with a figure this expensive. Anyways, double hinged elbows, no issues with those, they double hinge fine. There's kind of a swivel at the gauntlet, but it's not really meant to swivel, not the gauntlet, the glove. That mostly ties in with an accessory, it's not really meant to swivel. No other figures in this line have swivels there, but ball joint peg style hands, in and out, swivel at the base, and the vague practically swivel ball joint at the hand. Torso moves back that far, which is really far. Not really that far down, like the head for some reason, side to side, and limited rotation. Most of his downward looking movement comes from his waist joint, which, yeah, has a really nice range of motion and isn't really the most concealed joint in the world, but hey, whatever. It still gives you a lot of good motion. And yeah, you can see that free-floating belt is doing shit to actually help the articulation at all. Had this been glued or molded to his body, it would have made no difference. Anyways, we got the Figuarts Ultrac Tamashi style drop down hips. They pull down, they can kick up a good amount, kick back a good amount, move a pretty decent amount out. Can get any more? No, I think that's as far out as they move. It's but not too bad. And there's also a swivel in the upper part of the thigh. Double hinged knees, which get a pretty good amount, which is really good because I know the Redman figure, which was the first HAF figure to come out, only had about that much for knee movement. So it's nice that they kind of went back and fixed that between releases. Swivels in the ankles, hinges in the ankles, which move, can't really see, but there you go, and pivots in the ankles, so you can pivot his foot around, get it flat on the surface when you pose him. And the toes hinge. Very nice. So that's it for articulation on Zone Fighter. It's flawed, to say the least, but I mean, I guess it could have been worse. Could have been the first release. So for accessories, as you can see, he comes with these chopping hands, which are pretty well sculpted. As you can see, they got some nice glove-like wrinkles. Thumbs look a little weird on them, but that's fine. And one thing I do want to point out about the hands is that they kind of took a note from the Figuarts Ultraman book and made them out of a rubbery plastic, so they're incredibly easy to change out, and they're also not loose in there or anything, which is good. This is not good. He also comes with these open hands, which, you know, they got a pretty nice dynamic sculpt, but it's really kind of interesting, because, you know, I was looking at some Ultra Act figures and thought that these hands looked kind of, similar. A little weird. And finally, for accessory, it comes with this set of Meteor Missile Mike Gauntlets, which, yeah, as you can see, they work pretty similar to his regular gloves. Change them out, you just put the hand you want on there. Obviously, most obvious choice being the open, not the open hands, the chopping hands. And yeah, to switch them out, you just pull his gauntlet off. Or why do I keep calling these gauntlets gloves? This is a gauntlet. This is a glove. Need to remember that. But yeah, you just put it in there, and there you go. You got Zone Fighter with his Meteor Missile Might. How most people, I would assume, are going to display him, and how I display him. If I was going to fall over there for a second, that's a shame. It would have made for a funny hard cut. Starting out sizing, of course, here's Zone Fighter with none other than the Bandai Godzilla 1975. Of course, there isn't really a 73 figure in this scale to pair him with, and I don't have a 74, but it's a close enough figure. It's just minor head differences. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's not a very accurate sizing. Godzilla should be taller than Zone Fighter, but it's not really bothersome. Like, it looks fine, passable, good, decent, whatever word you have to say that it doesn't look bad. Here he is with the Bandai Gigan. Here's Zone Fighter alongside the Tokusatsu Collection King Ghidorah. Here he is with a couple of Ultra Act and Figuarts Ultraman figures. And Jet Jaguar. Here he is with a figure I know everyone watching this has, and the hottest, newest shit these days. And, of course, here's Zone Fighter with Woo. Woo. So overall, I really kind of want to say that this is great and fantastic, and it's Zone Fighter, and I love it, and I think you should all go out and get it. But I can't really say any of that with confidence, aside from the fact that it is in fact Zone Fighter. Yeah, it's honestly not that bad of a figure. It's a pretty decent feeling, well-made figure. aside from those awful bicep joints and a few minor quality control flubs. But what really sets it off and makes it not worth it is the price. This thing was like 70 or 80 bucks when it came out, if you could get it, because if you missed the pre-order and you didn't get it the day it came out on most sites, you kind of missed out and you're probably going to have to pay scalper prices. Yes, this figure is probably going to be scalped, oh high heavens, and if you look at the day this is being recorded or uploaded or whatever, you'll probably see that it's a ridiculously high amount of money, like $170 and up. So yeah, unless you're a die-hard fan of Zone Fighter and have to have a Zone Fighter that sizes with your Bandais, I mean, really just pass. Again, unless you're a die-hard Zone Fighter fan who has to have a figure that sizes with the Bandai Godzilla figures, or you just want as many figures of characters that have been connected with Godzilla in any way at all as you can possibly get. But yeah, it's an okay figure. It's pretty decent. It's just that the price is too much. That's kind of the end of this video. I'm gonna go do stuff now. Probably should clean the setup away. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Have fun. Dinner time.